The situation with the homeless in Brighton and Hove has now reached a totally critical point. Now is the time when we've all got to work together, everyone of every age. Every time I pass a homeless person, talk to them, someone will stop me and say, "What can I do? What can we do?" And people want to be told what they can do. People want to be led, and people want suggestions and ideas. And nothing must be thrown out, because we've all got to work together on this. And this is why I think the work of people like John Hadman and Jim Deans is so essential, because these are people who are never held back by councils, rules, laws. They make great things happen. And this is what all of us can do. Now, I believe that the churches and the religious institutions in Brighton have a big part to play. They've got land, they've got space, and they've got congregations who want to do things. And I truly believe that if every church congregation got together and sat down and said, "What can we do? How can we help? Can we run a night shelter? Can we do a collection? Can we get the children from the schools involved? Can we get the elderly involved who want to do things? Have they got space where they can put up people? People who can maybe help them with their gardening, with their shopping." It's a question of looking at all the different lateral thinking ways in which we can change the world. We must lead the way, because Brighton and Hove is the area which has the worst problem in this country, and the situation is critical.
So I'm Peter. I used to be a full-time member of staff at 38 Degrees, which many of you will know is a nationwide member-led campaigning organisation made up of over 2 million people that lobbies the government and big business on behalf of you, the members, to do the right and fair thing by people and planet. And I used to run a series of nationwide events called 38 Degrees Live, which was designed to spark new thinking in community action, and I also presented and facilitated those events. The 38 Degrees team have given me their blessing to speak on their behalf, as they are all on a training day and sadly can't make it down, much as they would have loved to be here. I should point out at this stage that they have generously covered the running costs for tonight's events, and over the past year have done all they can to boost this campaign, for which we're very grateful. We also owe the Campaigns by You platform, and you can see that's what it looks like there now, with the second win sticker there. We owe that platform where any member of the public can use the 38 Degrees digital toolkit to run and win their own campaigns for free, an awful lot, and I'll mention that again at the end of the night. So we wouldn't be here tonight without the dogged determination and hard work of a truly remarkable Brightonian and all-round stand-up gentleman, John Hadman. So please give him a huge and hearty round of applause. When I first heard of the campaign to lobby for a permanent night shelter in Brighton early last year, when I was still working as a full-time staffer at 38 Degrees and observing those wins come in, I was really impressed and moved. So I reached out to John to offer my personal support, which is why I'm here today doing this. A common concern for the welfare of our local and national homeless is why we're all here, of course. I'll be guiding us through the evening. So here's how it's going to break down. We'll be hearing from some local stakeholders and individuals who've been involved in this campaign and also affected by homelessness. And then we'll be working in groups on 9 core areas of work that we'll need to crack and resource in order to get a new social enterprise come charity, not just on its feet, but thriving. And we ultimately hope setting an example to the rest of the country too. And John will speak to that broader vision later, and that's what we'll all be working on tonight. Which is exciting. Ultimately, it's the phenomenal support of the 38 Degrees community, and that's all of you that made this happen together. And it does always, to me, feel like magic, and it's going to be exciting to see what happens next. Tonight, we're also going to be launching a fundraising drive, and we have one of those snazzy card machines here. We can't take any cash legally, but we will be sharing a web link in the next couple of days in case you can't make any contributions tonight but would like to. So if you would like to put something down on cards at any stage during the night, just come and grab me when I'm not waffling on, and I'll point you in the right direction. So next I'm going to welcome a man that I have a huge amount of respect for, who has been through more than I can ever imagine. Dan Bailey here and I are a similar age, and both members of a local group called A Band of Brothers. Has anyone heard of A Band of Brothers? Excellent. Which is a community of men who support one another with one hand up and one hand down, that was built on the premise that if a young man isn't initiated into his tribe, he'll burn down the village just to feel the heat. Older men mentor younger men, particularly those coming out of the criminal justice and care system. Oh, bloody hell. Sorry. It's always one. Right, so... out of the criminal justice and care system. So those younger men also hold a mirror up to the older men's bullshit, so the mentoring certainly works both ways. Dan was homeless for over a year. He's got his life on track now and is here tonight to speak to his experience and perhaps reflect on how things would have been if he'd had regular guaranteed access to even a basic refuge from the elements. So I'd like to hand it over to you, Dan.
Hello, my name's Dan. I was homeless for a year when I was 25. It was kind of, really interesting at 25. The YMCA can't help you, the council can't help you, and the BHT can't help you. I was getting shifted around in circles on all three of them because I was 25. In order for BHT or the council, either one to help me, I had to get a drug, what do you call it? I had to be on drugs. So what did I do? I went on to drugs, which for a year now I've been clean. So that's about 6 years ago. I think this is really important to open a shelter all year long, like every night. There wasn't a night that I wasn't sleeping with one eye open. I had strangers trying to take my sleeping bag, my tent. I was sleeping underneath the pier, in bushes around the dome. It was just really horrible. But then I did get some help from First Base, which is like a morning thing where you could get a shower, get something to eat, and they put me into a hostel, which then made my addictions even worse because it was for people that were on heroin and crack. But I got myself out of it, and I've moved on, and I've got my own flat now. I think if you did have a shelter with more help, it wouldn't have taken that long. So I will be really helping yourself with this. This is really in my heart, and I'm going to stop waffling on now. So thank you, and that was pretty much my experience.
Thank you very much, Dan. At this point, I was going to play a short video about Band of Brothers because I thought it was pertinent to the programme, but actually I'm going to play that a bit later. And actually I'm now going to hand over to Claire Moonan, who is the lead on homelessness at the council for... she is a Labour councillor, so it falls on me now just to stress that 38 Degrees is a non-political, it's a neutral platform, and this is in no way meant to boost the campaigning of any particular political organisation locally, and in fact all parties were invited tonight to come along. Obviously Claire, with her role as being the lead on homelessness, it is important that she speaks to that, and we're really glad to have her here tonight to say a few words. So I'm going to hand over to you, Claire.
Thank you very much, and thank you for putting me in the programme early, because unfortunately I'm not able to stay for the whole meeting because I've got to go on to something else. You're absolutely right. This is something that cross-party, all parties within the council really care passionately about, and we've worked very cooperatively together. I mean, ultimately it's shocking, isn't it? The issue is there's not enough housing. A night shelter wouldn't be necessary if there was enough housing, and we're in the middle of a national housing crisis. We all know this. But we have a real issue within the city, and getting people off the streets at night, particularly in the winter, is life-saving. And everyone has contributed to that. And over the last winter, there were lots of people in the city who played their part. And in order for us to go forward, that's going to need to continue, because for us as a local authority, we've got some of the solutions, and we are going to absolutely dig as deep in our pocket as we can, but we're going to need to work together, and I think we all know that. We're fantastic. You know, I've got huge admiration for John. He's campaigned really, really strongly, so thank you for your continued efforts, and there's lots of people here who are really passionate and are part of the solution, which is wonderful. I just wanted to take the opportunity to just say two things very briefly about what we as a council can do and our part of the solution. We have our severe weather emergency protocol. We're just about to put something on our consultation portal about our plans for next year, and we're going to significantly lower the criteria that will trigger the SWEP. So I invite you all to please take part in that consultation and tell us what you think. And secondly, we do have some money. I mean, money is tight, but we have some resource to provide some night shelter provision going forward. And again, it's really important that we have a conversation with how we can most effectively spend that money, and that's a conversation I want to have with everybody. We've got the church's night shelter, we've got initiatives that might come out tonight, we've got guardianship schemes, there's all sorts of bits of the picture, including what the council provide, that we can join up and hopefully make a real difference. All I wanted to say, thank you very much.
Yeah, so we've rejigged things around slightly. Next, I want to welcome David Gibson, who is a Green Party councillor, but actually isn't necessarily going to be speaking to that now. I'm just going to say he's going to say a few words about housing. The same principle applies. 38 Degrees is a neutral platform, but it's important that David, who was one of the co-sponsors on the initial campaign and helped John take this to the council, speaks to that. So over to you, David.
So I was going to talk to you mostly as from the perspective of Living Rent campaign, but I will try and throw in a little bit of housing and council stuff as well. Because it was through the Living Rent campaign that we worked with John, and John comes along and regularly attends. And it was also the Living Rent campaign that we really care about rents, high rents, insecurity, homelessness being caused by unaffordability of housing and its insecurity. But we were almost overwhelmed with people like John coming along and saying, hold on, we've got to do something about this homelessness. And and our whole focus kind of shifted because that's where the energy was in the people that were involved. And it's not surprising, because it's an awful situation, and I could rail on about national policies, and so could Claire, but the reality is in Brighton and Hove we've got 178 people at the last count who were experiencing the kind of insecurity that was referred to earlier by our friend from the Band of Brothers, if I can call you that. And under those circumstances, people's health deteriorates, and it's a real struggle. And the most scandalous thing for me is that it's a 3 months average wait for someone sleeping rough before the council managed. These are people that we are seeking to house, or the council is seeking to house, before they move into accommodation. And that, in that time, so much can get worse. So to come back to the 38 Degrees petition, what Living Rent campaign, and to some extent I'll bring in the Green councillors, the petition went to the council, and we we passed a motion, or proposed a motion, which as you know, achieved all party support to look into using empty buildings, and then followed that up with a motion in the budget to provide the resources. And then the great thing about having the money from the budget was that then the Brighton night shelter, which was, you know, halfway towards John's dream of a you know, all year round shelter, was then available, and it managed to happen with you know, with a cross-party working group to try and make sure. And we were a bit slow to get off the ground, I think Claire would probably agree, but we did manage it, and it managed to help a lot of, you know, fairly high needs people over the winter, and harness, you know, and a huge amount of public support, and the number of people that donated things and that volunteered, and it was a testament really to the council working with the community. And I think that's pretty much what this is about tonight as well, I hope, from the council point of view. And you know, the turnout here is amazing. It's utterly fantastic, and it's a testament to the concern and passion in the community. And as Claire said, the resources aren't as abundant as we would ideally like. And if it's, you know, the only way to really make major headway is to harness the energy of the people in this room tonight. And that's really what I want to urge you to get involved with. I'd say with the Living Rent campaign, what we tried to do, along with John, is support a guardianship scheme in the Synergy Centre. It was great. 9 people were housed and found move-on accommodation, but it was a struggle, and we didn't have the people power, we didn't have the strength of the management committee to make it work. And hopefully the organisation that people are looking to set up tonight won't make that mistake in terms of not having the strength and backing of them. It will set up a really strong, powerful organisation that can do guardianships, or that can you know, support night shelters and work, you know, in a complementary way to the things that the council does. So I just urge you all, you know, to get involved. You have got involved. You turned out tonight. You've shown, you know, as the community in the city have done, you know, week after week, that there's a massive concern to do something about homelessness, and get involved in this project. I think there's already a date for a follow-up meeting, and I hope that many of you, you know, will get involved with that and join John and help him. So, because he can't do it all on his own. He tries, but he can't do it all on his own. So, you know, please, you know, get going, and this is very exciting.
Right, so they say in the events world that you're not really truly in the room until you've said hello to each other. So we're just going to take a minute quickly, just to turn to someone who you've never spoken to before, introduce yourselves, and let them know why you're here. Okay. Next up, without further ado, to give us an update on where the campaign is today and share a vision for an organisation to drive a national programme of permanent night shelters. You did really well welcoming him last time. I think we can do better, Mr. John Hadman.
Well, first of all, thank you all for coming tonight and giving your time and signing up to 38 Degrees petitions. Thanks all. Finding this very difficult. Thanks for all the support on 38 Degrees, on the magic of the internet, and Peter for chairing tonight's launch, Jim for food, and people who helped setting up tonight. And thanks to everyone I missed out. You have information in front of you which sets out some of the paper trail I have uncovered, and there's much more. With the commitment of all of you all, I'm sure we can help the homeless in our community. when we have spread this model nationwide on the 30 degrees, we'll make a big dent in homelessness will be the result. This means that in each area where there's a hotspot of homelessness, people sign up to a 30 degrees petition to, as I did, and vote for the council to open night shelters or some form of shelter for the homeless, and also get volunteers like yourselves motivated to do what you're doing today in opening a new system within Brighton Hove of a company properly set up in a way which is legal, etc. The action is urgent before the winter sets in. Thank you all again. Goldie. Thank you.
So, as John mentioned, 38 Degrees have intimated that they are willing to give this campaign a lot of support, and they've done what they can until this point. What they need now is a concrete vision of what a national project looks like. Once they have that, what we can do is we can set up a campaign, another one of these, but this time aim it at a national level. So the first petition was addressed to Claire Moonan, who you heard from before. The second one here is addressed to Brighton Hove City Council. And then the next one could potentially, and like, we're not being prescriptive here, we're all here tonight to figure out what this journey could be, but just kind of a start of a 10 is this next one could be addressed to a minister called Heather Wheeler, who is chairing up a committee of how to address homelessness at a national level. And what we are imagining we might be saying to Heather Wheeler is, hey, we've got an idea, we've mapped out a project based in Brighton, there's some material in front of you there about that committee that's been set up very recently. I think their first meeting was in March, was it? So it's very new. There's, I think about, off the top of my head, about 20 million quid just for dealing with those who are already homeless. So I totally hear what Claire's saying about the council being cash-strapped, but there is money there. Brighton has the third biggest homelessness problem in the country behind London and Luton. This is the right place to run a pilot and then hopefully set a model of best practice that we can roll out around the country. Now that might be based on a guardianship scheme, and that when it was worked really well here, and there are people in this room who know guardianship schemes really well, and property quirks and cooperatives and da-da-da-da-da. Lots of experts in this room. John, where's the breakdown of what all the tables mean? Is that in front of people here? So I haven't... Yeah, you were given it. Okay, so each of the table is labelled A, B, C, D. So you've got a kind of a key there. What we're going to be doing is inviting you to go to the table that you feel speaks most to your skill set, your experience, your interest, whatever. That is not to say that we expect you to be there for the rest of the night, just drilling down into that, because the more we move around and cross-pollinate, the richer that bounty will be at the end. This is just the beginning, and we're hoping that what we come up with tonight will help to inform that next step to create a project that 38 Degrees can really get behind, both in terms of communication. So if you imagine this says 5,668, I've just worked with some friends of mine in Leith Hill on an anti-fracking campaign that was directed at a national level. And they went from sort of 3,000 odd signatures to about 112,000 signatures now. And that was on the front page of the website, it got national press. So, that's where it could go, just as a campaigns by you petition. 38 Degrees will not run this as an essential campaign because it was not decided on by the membership that this is a priority. That's just the way it works. We can make it a priority by setting up our own campaigns by you, just like John did. But address it at a national level and ask for that funding, maybe match funding. We can also run a fundraising campaign 38 Degrees are willing to host that fundraising on their website so that we don't have to pay any kind of Just Giving fees or anything like that. Literally what you pay is what goes directly into that campaign. But before we get to that stage, we need to have a very crystal clear idea of exactly what we're proposing, and that's what we're here to do tonight, hopefully. So just a bit of background in this process. So I developed this with a guy called Peter McFadden, who wrote the book Flat Pack Democracy. Anyone know Flat Pack Democracy, or the Independence for Froome story? Okay, so this is not a plug for Independence for Froome, but it is quite a cool story where a group of people decided to set up a platform of independence in Froome. Froome Town Council is now entirely independent, and they're doing some really, really cool things because they say yes before they say no, and they say yes before they figured out how to pay for it, and then figure out how they're going to pay for it later down the line. And they've set their council up to listen rather than to kind of adhere to kind of old ways of doing things. So